Hi everyone and welcome to Easy Math. Today's topic is all about factoring polynomials. So first, let me give you an idea of how factors are associated with products. Okay? In this expression, we're going to apply the distributive property. So we're going to distribute 4x to each of the term in the binomials. So first, we're going to multiply 4x times 3x. So that's going to be 12x squared. So remember the product rules of exponents. Just simply add the exponents of the same variable. So that's why it becomes x squared. Next is to multiply 4x with this by the second term, -5. So that's going to give us 20x squared. So the resulting expression is actually the product of this factor. Okay? So basically, factoring is the reverse process of multiplication. Now let's take another concept. The square of a binomials. So let's simplify this expression by breaking it down into simpler terms, which is the product of two binomials. Next is to find the product of this expression by using the FOIL method. Okay. So FOIL literally means first, outside, inside, and last. So first is the first term, is actually the first term of each of the binomial. So x, we're going to have to multiply x squared, x times x, it's going to be x squared. All right, next is outside. So outside, which means the variables, okay, the variables at the extreme. So x times y, that's going to be xy. Next is inside, which is this one, y times x, so that's going to be another xy. So you have to arrange them alphabetically, okay? Next is the last term, which is y in the second term. So y times y is y squared. All right, so let's simplify further by combining like terms. So just copy x squared. And then we have numerical coefficients, which is 1. So that is 2. And then copy common terms. And then y squared. So this is the product, okay? The product of this factor. All right, so now I guess you have a clear picture of how factoring is done. This time we're gonna have to go in depth on this topic. Okay, so the first type of factoring that I'm gonna teach you is factoring the greatest common monomial factor. So let's factor out 12x cubed y to the 5th power minus 20x raised to the 5th power y squared z. So we actually have two terms. Now what we need to do is to find the GCF that appears in every term of this polynomial. Okay, so let's work first with the numerical coefficients, which is 12 and 20, all right? So the GCF for 12 and 20 is obviously 4 because both are divisible. 12 and 20 are both divisible by 4. Next is to find the variables with the least exponent, okay? We need to find the variables with the least exponent in every term or in each of the term. So we have xy are both common to all terms. So we need to extract x and y. And then we have 3 as the smallest exponent for x, and 2 as the smallest exponent for y. So this is now our GCF. All right, so this is actually also the first factor. First factor for this polynomial. Next is to find the other factor that when multiplied together, it will give us this result. All right, so how are we going to obtain the other factor? So the next step is to divide the whole expression, this whole expression, by the GCF. Okay, so now let's divide the whole expression by the GCF. So 12 divided by 4, that's going to be 3. And then x cubed divided by x cubed, that will be canceled out. Okay, so y to the fifth and y divided by y squared, that's going to be y cubed. Next is divide the second term by the GCF again. So 20 divided by 4, okay, that's going to be negative 5. And x to the fifth power divided by x cubed, that's going to be x squared. And then y squared will be canceled out, and then just copy z. So the resulting quotient is now the second factor. Okay, so the factored form is for x cubed y squared 3y cubed minus 5x squared z. Okay, all right. So this is now the factored form of this expression. Okay, and we have completely factored out this polynomial. So that's how factoring is done, right? Let's take another example. 8x squared plus 16x. So based on what we've learned in the previous example, first step is to find the GCF for this expression. So let's work first with the numerical coefficients 8 and 16. So the GCF for 8 and 16 is pretty obviously it's 8. Okay, and then next is to find the variable with the least exponent in each of the term. So we have x raised to the first power, which has the smallest exponent. So let's extract x. So now our GCF is 8x, and this is our first factor. Now next is to find the other factor, that when multiplied together, it will give us this result. Okay? So and how are we going to obtain the other factor? So what we need to do is to divide this whole expression by the GCF. All right, so 8x squared divided by 8x, that's going to be x squared. Oh, I'm sorry. It's x raised to the first power because you need to subtract 2 minus 1. Okay. Next is to divide 16x by 8x. All right, so that's going to be positive 2, and then that will be canceled. So this is the second factor. Now, if you're going to multiply this or distribute 8x in each of the term, it will give us this result. Okay, so this is the factored form. Factored form of this product. All right. So that's actually how factoring works. And also remember, in factoring, we need to find the GCF. And in this expression, we get 8x as the greatest common monomial factor. Okay? So now let's have one last example. Let's try to factor out these polynomial. So we actually have 3 terms here. So first step is to find the GCF, or the greatest common monomial factor. So let's work first with the numerical coefficients 12, 16, and 28. So the GCF for this number is 4 because it is the greatest number that is divisible to all of these numbers. Okay. And next is to find the variable that is common, or the variable that is common to each of the term, and variables with the smallest exponent. Okay, so we only have x as that is common to all of the terms. We don't have y in the third term. So let's extract x. And 3 is the smallest exponent. So we now have our GCF for this expression, okay? And which is also the first factor. So we have the first factor for x cubed. Now we need to find the other factor that when you multiply together, it will give us this result, okay? So how are we going to do that? We simply need to divide this whole expression by the GCF. Okay, so first we need to divide 12 divided by 4. That's going to be 3. And then x to the 5th divided by x cubed. That's going to be x squared. And then just copy y to the 4th power. Next is for the second term, 16 divided by 4. That's going to be negative 4. Okay. Next is x cubed divided by x cubed. That's going to be canceled out. Okay, it will be canceled out. And then just copy y. Okay, so y to the 4th power. And for the third term, we have 28 divided by 4. That's going to be 7. And then x to the 6th power divided by x cubed. That's going to be x cubed. So now we have obtained the second factor, or the other factor, that when you're going to multiply this expression, it will give us this product. Okay, so this is now the factored form. This is now the factored form of this polynomial. And we have completely factored out this expression. All right, so that's just it for this lesson, but I'm going to give you an assignment for you to practice this type of factoring if you're interested in learning about mathematics. So your assignment will be try to factor out this given expression and write your answer in the comment section down below, because I'll be checking your work in the upcoming days and see if you get the right answer. So see you around.